The most anticipated military premiere of the year. The Tau coalition has received troops. What can the Russian super howitzer do, and why was the army waiting for it so much? We will tell you about it right after we list the most interesting events that took place in our country during the week. So, the capital construction of power transmission line for realization of the power delivery scheme of the future power unit with innovative fast neutron reactor with lead coolant Bress OD-300 started in Seversk. The 300 megawatts power unit will supply electricity to the Russian wholesale market. Work on the installation of power lines is on schedule, and materials from domestic manufacturers are used. The POW branch of Il-Avestar manufactured and handed over the Illinois 76 Maryland 90A military transport aircraft to the Russian Ministry of Defense. This aircraft is a deeply modernized version of the Illinois 76 MD aircraft and is built from domestic components. The updated vehicle has an increased range and load carrying capacity, as well as improved accuracy of aircraft guidance and landing, and the quality of radio communications. A medium-class Soyuz 2.1B launch vehicle carrying a spacecraft in the interests of the Russian Defense Ministry was launched from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome. The launch of the carrier rocket and the insertion of the spacecraft into the calculated orbit were carried out in a normal mode. At the estimated time, the spacecraft was placed into the target orbit and accepted for control by the ground facilities of the Space Forces of the All-Union Space Forces. Traffic on the last sections of the Highway M12, Vostok, is open. The launch of these sections of the highway has reduced the travel time from Moscow to the capital of Tatarstan almost twice to 6 hours instead of the previous 12 to 13 hours. The 810 kilometers long M12, Vostok highway passes through 5 regions: Moscow, Vladimir, Nizhny Novgorod regions, as well as the republics of Chuvashia and Tatarstan. The passenger ship, Inia, has started sea trials. Domestic components and equipment were used as much as possible in the development of the project. Inia is designed for 54 passengers and 2 crew members. It has a draft of half a meter and an overall length of 24.8 meters. The design speed at full load will reach 40 kilometers per hour. The height of the INI board reaches 1 meter 40 centimeters, which will allow its use not only in the conditions of rivers and canals, but also on lakes and reservoirs. The surgical building of the Tomsk Oncodispensary started to receive patients. The building will provide 53 types of medical care, including high-tech medical care. The 9-story facility consists of a 120-bed inpatient hospital and an outpatient department with a capacity of 200 visits per shift. The cost of construction and equipment amounted to just under 3.5 billion rubles. ATB Electronics presented a new line of compact computers for industrial and infrastructure facilities. The novelty is based on quad-core processors and can operate in temperatures from 0 to plus 75 and from minus 40 to plus 75 degrees Celsius. The devices can be used to control interactive panels and systems, as well as collect and transmit data in industrial facilities. The company will be able to produce at least 30,000 units per year. Ural Cryomash has received a certificate of compliance with the Eurasian Economic Union for a new railroad tank car model 155107. The wagon is designed for transportation of light oil products, in particular, naphthalene, under nitrogen overpressure on mainline railroads of 15-20 gauge. The manufactured product is absolutely new in the company's product line. Researchers from Tinkoff Research Labs have created a new efficient algorithm for training AI agents. The algorithm trains artificial intelligence 4 times faster and up to 40% higher quality than all existing offline benchmarks. The development can help bridge the technological and digital divide between different countries. Russia has developed the country's first open-source software for drones. The software developed by ACB Soft allows a single operator to control multiple drones simultaneously. It also supports command mode, where multiple operators control 1 or more drones. This software supports all types of operating systems. Now for the most anticipated military premiere of the year. The coalition Tau has received troops. What can the Russian super howitzer do, and why was the army waiting for it so much? Here is a whole echelon of Sa-U-2S-35 Army coalition, somewhere in the vast expanses of the motherland. It is regularly heard that certain types of new weapons are experimentally run in the troops and modernized and brought up to date on the results of such a quiet and brief introduction. This kind of work doesn't tolerate fuss, while we all certainly wish it would go a lot faster. Among the most needed development armies, perhaps the most anticipated was the Tau coalition of the Army of the Army. This maximally robotic interspecies artillery system should fill one of the most serious gaps in the counter-battery firepower of the Russian armed forces. Its predecessor, The Msta-S self-propelled artillery unit was once well ahead of most NATO guns of this type and is still very competitive on the battlefield. Its chief designer, one of the leading specialists of self-propelled artillery in the country, Yuri Vasilievich Tomashov, in his time not in vain received the Lenin Prize for his own work. But it's been exactly 40 years since the Msta went into mass production, and a lot of technology has moved on since then. And, alas, our wonderful SAO has come close to the highest limit of its technological capabilities. The most advanced representative of the Msta-S family was the modified 2S19M2. On the surface, they are even similar to the Coalition, but there are significant differences. For example, in the shape of the muzzle brake and the location of the smoke mortars at the front of the turret. The maximum average range with an active jet projectile did not reach 40 kilometers, noticeably inferior in this component to such NATO howitzers as the American towed BAM 777, the French SAO-Cs and the German PZH-2000, created already in the new millennium, in accordance with the significantly updated NATO combat regulations. Those certainly have their drawbacks, for example, poor adaptability to high-intensity warfare. But as a high-precision long arm, they had, it must be admitted, a marked superiority. Yes, on the modern battlefield, drones like the Lancet and the Cube and guided MLRSs like the Tornado S, which have become a real scourge of Western artillery systems, have been able to partially replace this significant shortcoming. But they were markedly inferior to self-propelled guns in reacting to threats. By the way, the length of the Coalition has been increased, and so it fits into a standard photo with great difficulty. In general, the Army needed a self-propelled howitzer capable of identifying priority targets, calculating the exact coordinates of enemy strike assets and striking back from a point that excluded rapid enemy return fire. In addition, the system was to be a truly automated system, facilitating the work of the crew and giving maximum rate of fire. Considering that self-propelled guns came into service more than 70 years ago and have been improving all this time, this was a very non-trivial task. In fact, this type of howitzer was offered, what is called, to jump over the head. And when in 2013 it was first announced that Nizhny Novgorod Research Institute, Burevestnik, had fulfilled the main provision of this archaically complex technical task, on the one hand, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but on the other hand there were doubts that such a thing was physically possible. The Coalition's stated characteristics by the Coalition developers were indeed on the verge of fantasy. The range is up to 80 kilometers, rate of fire up to 16 rounds per minute, with the ability to fire in fire raid mode. Own radar reconnaissance and firing control complex. Powerful navigation system in the fastest possible communication with other electronic and visual reconnaissance assets. The key to the Coalition's range and accuracy should be the new Krasnopol DM projectile. It is equipped with a combined system capable of being guided by both laser and satellite navigation. Msta-S set her personal record of 42 kilometers with him this summer. The Coalition will be able to shoot them much farther. Even Germany and the United States were not able to combine all these components into a single machine. So those 10 years that it took to bring the 2S35 product to the point of perfection are quite a normal time by today's standards. Especially given the fact that one had to combine a conservative weapon such as long-range barrel artillery with the latest advances of the cyber and digital age. Yes, the sanctions did not contribute to this process either, to put it bluntly. The Coalition was brought to readiness gradually. On at least 2 occasions in April 2022 and September 2023, various sources reported isolated instances of its combat use. But it was only in October of this year that Rostec and enterprises belonging to a broad consortium of designers and manufacturers of the plant reported the full completion of the entire cycle of state tests. And the day before, TASS reports that the first full-fledged, non-experimental batch of the long-awaited guns arrived in active artillery units of the Russian army. Here's a visual infographic. Combat weight of 48 tons, crew consists of 3 people, maximum range of 70 kilometers, combat rate of fire 11 to 16 rounds per minute. Maximum speed on the highway is 60 kilometers per hour. The ammunition carried is 50 to 70 rounds. So, as they say, there's nowhere to retreat to. Our military industry, badly battered in the 90s and slow to recover in the years that followed, has already shown that it can mobilize and rapidly implement actual systems if there is an urgent need. That's what's happening now with unmanned systems. Hopefully something similar will happen with artillery as well. And if the past year can safely be called the year of the Lancet, may the coming year be at least partly the year of the Coalition.